The best way to put it, this topic, the church, you see, so far we have been seeing what the church teaches, how we celebrate, correct? And how we pray. Hopefully you're getting that throughout the whole program. But now we're going to see how the church gets involved outside, how the church influences our society, okay? Remember when we were talking about what kinds of sins we have? And one of those were social sin, and this is where we lack some things. So the church is going to be always fighting this one. And I think the main approach that the church does is very simple. Love one another, okay? Everybody has dignity, everybody has given rights, and the church is always going to fight for those rights, okay? Make sense? So we have this clear umbrella, okay? All right. So let us review. Let's see, change. Yeah, you did. Okay, what is our vocation? I think this is important for you and me as we're getting closer for you to become Catholics, is this. Our main vocation is to manifest God, okay? Why we here is to go and show how God loves us and go and show it to the whole world, okay? The other one is to be transformed into the Lord's image. Remember, you and I, we are created in the image of God, in the image and likeness of God. That's profound. That's going to be like the foundation of all the social teachings, okay? Oh, back, okay? And to obtain the happiness of union with God for eternity. Why are you becoming Catholic? Hopefully because you want to go to heaven, correct? So the whole purpose is to go to heaven, okay? But here's the problem. We're still living in earth, correct? We're still in pilgrimage. But this is for us. I always see our pilgrimage here literally as a pilgrimage. We are in the journey for it. So it's important for us to understand where we're heading and who we are. Who we are as a human person, and where is our destination. If we don't have that clear right now, hopefully this makes sense, okay? So remember, social teaching, the Catholic social teaching is going to be based on this. We're going to go and manifest God. We're going to fight for the image and likeness of every human person because we want everybody to accomplish salvation. Okay? Now, that's a big job, correct? Hopefully we're doing it right. But hopefully we have the sense of that this is what we call for. Okay? Okay. Okay, brothers and sisters. If you read the documents, I didn't bring it with me, but we have a book this big with the small letters. You got the catechism, correct? The white book that has all the teachings of the church. Well, there's a compendium, there's a companion, and it has all the writings and all the teachings on social teaching, okay? So there's another book that we didn't provide because you can get those on the website, okay? But that book is especially for dealing with social issues. And it has the whole tradition of the church, okay? But all the teachings are going to be about the human person. According to the social teaching, human beings are the crown of creation. If we are the crown of creation, we have to understand who we are. Correct? If not, this will not make sense. So remember, Catholic social teaching is always going to be about defending the human person. okay? You have dignity, I have dignity, okay? And what's our relationship with each other in this world? So the first point, the human person is always the principal and the subject and the end of all social institutions, okay? Let me put it in a very simple example. Why do we have a government? This is the correct way of looking at government. To provide for families, and the families to provide for the individual person, okay? So government has a higher call because he's dealing with everybody, correct? Family has a higher call because it's dealing with many individuals. But at the center of everything is the human person, okay? You as a person. Okay, big word coming up. The principle of, subsidiarity. There you go. Subsidiarity. Last time. Okay. This is one of the principles of the church holds very important. Holds that a large social body should not take over the functions of small group if the small body can effectively achieve for itself the common good. Okay? What's the opposite of that? That's a tyranny. You imposing things. Correct? So basically, what's one of the issues? You imposing things on other people. So basically, we always work from the small to the highest. Okay? So always we're going to make sure that the human person is well taken care of, and then we develop it. Once we have a foundation, we can build on top of it. Correct? Is it making sense? Because sometimes this is I like it when I have a straight answer. This is it. With Catholic social teaching, you have to use a lot of prudence. But this is social teaching. The whole thing about is we have the human person. Next, societies do recognize the individual as ends of themselves. That's opposite. Are ends of themselves, not a means to some other purpose. Okay? We have dignity. Okay? You cannot be used for other purposes. Okay? You start talking about it, it's going to get very. This subject gets to the source subjects of the Catholic teaching. For example, we don't talk about much, but when I was in college seminary, the use of mother cells for curing cancer. I don't know if you heard that. That they were using the mother cells of an embryo, human embryo, to have to save, to develop new medicine for those who were fighting cancer. That's not a purpose. We're using the human beings to get something good. We do something bad to get something good. That's not the whole purpose of understanding the human person. Okay? So we're always going to fight for the individual. Okay? So at the end, why we're doing all this is love is the true basic of the Catholic social teaching. We do this because we love, and we have to protect everybody. I know this is not a very interesting topic. It's actually very interesting. All right, next one. Okay, the common good. Okay? I don't know if you have noticed that sometimes in Mass, we say, we pray for the common good. I don't know if you have heard that, especially in the petitions. We pray for all the government leaders that they always fight for the common good. Correct? I don't know if you have heard that one. And it was, I don't know, before I studied social teaching, I was like, what is that about? Right? Well, hopefully I can give you some insight into what is the common good. Okay? The common good is the sum of those conditions of social life which allows social groups and the individual members relatively through and ready access to their own fulfillment. Okay? Basically, we're looking for the good of the whole society, but at the same time, we're looking for the fulfillment, the fullest fulfillment of the human person. Okay? And you may start, did I change it? No, okay. So look at it this way. And let us be critical of the governments in the world today. Is the governments looking for the common good? Is governments looking for the good of the human person? Correct? Give you an example. What is the first thing they look for? Profit. It's all about the cash, correct? You notice? And then that's the whole point. And then see how we're going to serve that good. Correct? The social teaching is different. How economy, politics will serve the human person. So we reverse the triangle. The human person should be the cause of the whole thing. That's why Pope Francis is very involved with saying we need to remember those who were suffering. We need to remember those who are in the outside. Because, brothers and sisters, let us be honest, who are the first ones to suffer, let's say, in a conflict, in an armed conflict? The poorest of the poor. Correct? Who is the ones who always suffer the most? The poorest of the poor. So that's where our Catholic social teaching comes in. Okay? So here, let's say in 3 principles of this social teaching. Respect for the fundamental and inalienable. It comes from alien, correct? We cannot alienate these rights, okay? Of the human person. You and I, we have fundamental rights and nobody can change it. And they're sacred. And here's the thing. Those were given by God. You cannot, the government doesn't give you rights. You have the right, the government doesn't give you the right for life. Okay? That's something that it was already given to you by God, by just being. Okay? The social development and spiritual and material well-being of the society. The social development, so we have to develop, but it has to look at the spiritual and material of the whole society. What is our society lacking today? The spiritual. Okay? And the creation of the conditions that enable a society to exist in peace, security, and justice. So, brothers and sisters, the social teachings is looking at a human person for the common good. Okay? We're not islands. We need a society. But if we don't establish what the language we have in the church, we're going to be all around. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Just to say, Father, calm down. You're up there. Very simple. The focus, the reason is we're going to defend the dignity of the human person. Okay? And the best to do it, according to the social teaching, is the common good. And this is the common good. Okay? All right. So let's move to the social teaching. I feel, is this working? Okay. I know. Okay, much better. I feel free now. Here's something that I need to you need to understand. And when I was learning ethics and social teaching, my professor, which is a great professor, Father Mark O'Keefe from St. Meinrad, probably one of the best moral theologians that we have right now. He was explaining to us very simple what is love, what is justice and what is charity. And he got it from Pope Benedict, one of the greatest minds in theology. So this is how he explains justice. What is justice? Is what is due to you. Okay? So to be a just person, to have justice, we need to give you what is due to you. Okay? Let's think about it. Be a just person, you need water. That's justice. We need to give you clean water. That's what is given to you. We need to give you food. That's justice. Okay? Make sense? Very simple. Are you a just person or you are being served just? Is what is given to you. Okay? What is charity? What is yours is given to others. Okay? Make sense? So, this water, the injustice belongs to me. I'm going to give it to you in charity. This food that belongs to me because I have the right for food, but now I'm going to take it from me and give it to you because that's charity. Let me put it in a very concrete way. Okay? Christ was the just judge. Okay? So everything that he had was his. His divinity, his everything, this whole earth. But in love, he gave it to us freely. Okay? God bless you. Make sense? So I think it's important for our brothers and sisters that it is that we remember this when we're doing this. Justice and love are mixed in social teaching. Because we have to understand what is just for us, but at the same time, what is charity. Okay? And without them, we cannot have it. Social justice is just a just society. Okay, sorry. Social justice is a just society that guarantees the individual and associations obtain what is due to them according to their nature and vocation. Okay? So, do we live in a social justice? Is the United States a social justice? If it's making it comfortable, good. Because there's not such a thing, a perfect place that you will experience fully. Okay? Now, Catholic social teachings interprets the social events under the guidance of the Spirit with a view of applying the gospel of Jesus Christ to society. So we take everything that we just have been talking about, but now we're going to put the gospel of Christ. How the gospel is relatable to the society. Okay? Put it very simply, how do you proclaim the gospel at your work? This is not just about being here. Are you giving due justice to the other people you see? Are you giving full dignity to the other people that you see and you serve? So this is, you notice, you see in the thread, it's not something that one day the Pope Leo XIII say, oh, let's create this new thing. No, it was more clarified. Okay? This begins at the turn of the 19th century with the whole Industrial Revolution. Why the church needed to emphasize this teaching? Because there were a lot of abuses to workers. Correct? So who was the first one who speak about the right for just wage? It was the Pope. So the church, when he sees a problem, he's going to interpret it. He's going to go and say, the gospel, which is life and truth, tells us this is how we should deal with it. Why Pope Francis in 2016 or 15 wrote the encyclical Laudato Si, which is in the care of the creation, taking care of our planet. Because we were destroying our planet. And if we destroy the planet, where are we going to live? Are we being good stewards? Are we, by protecting the earth, are we protecting the human person? Remember, at the end of it, it's how are we going to make sure that the human person is developed and fully fulfilled so they can experience God? So the popes throughout the time, they write these encyclicals to make us aware that we need to protect the dignity of the human person. Make sense? Okay? So when you see, oh, the Pope is now getting in politics, the Pope will get in politics, or the bishop will get in politics when they're attacking the human person. Just to bring the light of the gospel into that issue. Make sense? I was not going to talk about this one, but that's the most exemplary one. Abortion. Why do we are against abortion? Because it goes against the dignity of what? The human person. Think about it that way. We're looking for the goodwill of the human person. Why do we ask for a good immigration service, for a good way of people to immigrate who are in need? Because we're looking for the good of the human person. Why do we look for the poor? Why do we do all these things the church does, the reach outside? Is because we want the people to get the dignity in working for the common good. Okay? So the social doctrine includes principles for reflection, provides critical for the judgment, and gives guidelines for action. Make sense? All right. So here are the central themes of the Catholic social teaching. So this is what we concentrate on social teaching. And this is like the umbrella of things, and there are a lot of issues under it. Okay? And guess what one? The first one. The profound dignity of the individual person. You are important, you are important, you are important, you are important. Everybody here is important. Why, Father? Because you were created in the image of God. Now, we say that a lot, but we don't think about it. You are the image of God. So, brothers, when you see each other, who you will see in the other? God. So, when I see you, I'm seeing you like God is visiting me. Or when you see me coming, remember, it's God visiting you, even though, so here comes Father again, okay? Sounds good? Next one, the sexual equality among humans. Oh, equality. We're all equal. Because we exist. We're in the image of God. We have different talents, correct? We don't want everybody to look the same. That's not equality. But equality represents everybody has a different God-given gift. You're good in cooking. I'm a horrible cooker. I'm not. You're good in writing. I am not good in writing. You're good in reading. I am not good in reading. You see the difference is not that, oh, everybody's the same. The link between justice and love. Guess what? I already told you that. Political and economic rights. I will tell you what are your rights in a minute. Stewardship, being good stewards. Okay? And that goes to not stealing. Correct? Economic justice. Correct? Make sure that we have what is just to us, and also share our what God has given us. Remember, all the goods of the earth belong to God, and it should be shared among all human beings. Human solidarity among people, that's what we use. When we see our brothers and sisters suffering in Syria, for example, imagine living for 10 years in a conflict. We talk about Ukraine today, correct? Because it's in the news. But poor Syria has been like that for 10 years. And now they got an earthquake. Correct? What's the other one? As you notice, I do not affiliate with any political party, but we pay more attention to a tweet from a president than to the people dying in the Mediterranean Sea trying to get to Europe. Social justice should bring us a no, the human person. Okay? I don't know if one time somebody came and asked him, it's like, Father, are you Republican or Democrat? I say, Lord, I know where you're coming from. I say, I'm Catholic, thank you very much. I am the one, I am for Christ, and somebody, another person came to me and say, Father, do you like President Trump? And I say, he is my president, and that was in 2017, and I pray for him daily. The other day, somebody came and said, Father, do you like President Biden? I say, he is my president, and I will pray for him. Can you imagine if I began to talk about politics? That's the beauty of it. I don't get in politics. I will pray for all the leaders there are right now elected from any party, but at the same time, I will speak against when it goes against the Catholic social teaching. That I will do. Next one. Oh, preferential option for the poor. Who was it? Oh my God. Who was it? Probably you know the story. I think it was one of the bishops. I don't know if it was the bishop from Paris. So this king comes in power. And we always associate that the church has a lot of money. We don't. A lot of things that we have in churches is because of the donation of the people. It's your money, it's not mine. It's not the church's. It's for the service of all of you. So this bishop is like, the king tells the bishop, bring me all the treasures of the church. I order you. This is something that I would do, of course. He gathered all the poor in Paris.
It was St. Lawrence in Rome.
St. Lawrence, correct? And it's like, brought all the people, I think it was in Rome, and he brought it to the emperor. Say, this is the treasures of the church. The treasure of the church right now is the poor. What was the other day? What was the other day? Oh, yes. The other day I was with somebody, and I saw this this person who was, sitting outside, young guy. And, I was like, I was fighting in my mind. It's like, why is he not getting to work? And then my guardian angel was telling me, are you criticizing him or you look in the face of God in there? And then I say, and remember, you have $5 there, so give it to him. I was like, but that's for lunch. It's like, no. You know, those are the treasures that we have. And they're fun to be around. I always say this story because it made a big impact in me to love this was one of the reasons that God showed me why I wanted to become a priest. Is this person, my home parish is in Edwards, in downtown. And if you go to downtown, you're going to find a lot of interesting people. And there was this gentleman, it was in his 60s, who approached me. I came late to Mass, and I said, I'm not going in, waiting for the next one. So I sit there and waiting, and then this gentleman comes and knocks on my window. Of course, you always worry, oh Lord, what's next? He just wanted food. And he said, can you go and can you buy me food? He said, I need money. I said, I don't have money, but I can get you a meal. He said, sure, I would like a meal. 2 sausage biscuits, 2 hash browns, a coffee with 2 creams and 2 Splendas from McDonald's. I went, got it, sit down in front of St. Edward's School, there in those little steps, and I got me the same thing, and I had the greatest conversation with him. Some people will say, well, you're crazy, Father. Well, I told them if I die as a martyr, just make a lot of money out of me, but that's okay? But that's the beauty of it. I remember he's telling me, thank you for having breakfast with me. Not many people do that. This is what I'm going to say. The poorest is not the people who lack any wealth. The poorest is the one who they lost their dignity. They are not treated like human beings. That's the most devastating thing. When the moment you lose your dignity, you are the poorest of the poorest. What happened in Auschwitz with the Nazis? They didn't see them as human beings. So they were the poorest of the poorest. They were the treasures of the treasures. The proclamation of peace among nations. Peace, peace, peace. What Pope Francis calls it, we are in World War III in little stages. That's sad. All right, our human quality comes from our dignity as a person made in God's image and likeness with certain, okay. With God-given dignity rights. To love means to give oneself to another. It is impossible to love without sharing with others what is due to them in justice. Okay? All right. Any questions? So far, so good? Make sense? You sure? Okay. All right. Basic human rights. Oh, Lord. Need water. All right? Very simple. When I was studying this in seminary, my professor always told me, remember, you have human rights, but you also have responsibilities, okay? If you're going to claim to your rights, remember, that's also reciprocal. It has to be given to others, okay? And it should be in respect. And that's my whole point. Each right as a corresponding duty to others to respect, foster, and fulfill. So if we're going to ask for our rights, the other ones it's our responsibility, the others who get it. Basic human rights. Did I get that right? Yes. Right to life and bodily integrity. Right to respect for one another's person and a good reputation. Right to food, shelter, and clothing. That's the basic human life. Right to life and bodily integrity for one's person and good reputation. I can have a whole class just on those things. Economic rights. We have the right to work, right for a just wage, right to property, right to rest. I love that one. Right to medical care. Political rights. Right to participate in government and right for judicial protection. These are all human rights, okay? But it's divided in different categories. Oh, religious rights, right to worship according to one's conscience. You have the right to worship according to your conscience. Okay? That's what I say. Nobody can force you to be here. You want to do this. But the same way, let me worship according to my one conscience. Now I'm going to be a little bit biased here, okay? The best way to worship is according to the perfect person. Okay? And we have only one perfect divine person, Jesus Christ, who became man. Okay? Evangelization comes. Okay? But we have to promote it. Everybody has the right. You want to worship a chair, that's your own conscience. Is it the right worship? Maybe not. So questions? Social rights. Right to assembly, right to free association. Cultural rights. Oh, right to a basic education, right to freedom of speech. Okay? Did that sound very familiar? Other rights, rights to choose one state of life, right of immigrate and immigrate. Correct? Those are human rights. They're given to you not by your government, not by another person. They were given by God. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a right to shelter and food, but God's not going to just provide that for me. So I have a right, but how does it get fulfilled?
Ah, correct. Here's the thing. It goes, I don't know if I have it here. God gives us the food, correct? We have the goods of the earth. We have the place to work the works of the earth. So we have the right to work. So it is through our own. God is not a magic wand who's like, oh, here's a house. Some people think that because we have a right, it's going to be completely free. You have to work for it. Some rights are, you just have it. I mean, let's say the right for life. That was just given to you. But that's why it goes by categories. But that one is very up there, yes.
It sounds like what you're saying is like, in function in a society, our right is negatively defined. So like, we have duties, and then from those duties our rights grow. So how we exercise our right is that other people don't infringe on our duty, is what you're saying. So like, there's the duty and the right. You have the right and the duty to work with you.
Yes.
And nobody can infringe upon that.
Yes.
So is that right?
Yeah.
And they're given the tools and
It's not that someone has to give you food. Like, if they don't have to give you food, that would be their charity.
Yes, exactly.
But they cannot, according to the social justice, they can't infringe on the right.
Yeah. Yes.
In a society that we have now, that we're living in now, it's so easy to be scammed by the people on the streets that you want to donate, you want to give,
Correct.
but so much of it is a scam. How do we continue to feel the generosity of giving and yet not feel like you've been scammed? I mean, I have several things to back that up with.
Yeah. We have to remind this, okay? There's some people who break this right.
There are, but how
and we live in sin. So let's never forget that we are still in this earth and there's sin. And the reality is of sin continues to exist. But this is something that we have to defend. I see what you're saying, correct?
A perfect example, I used to buy the McDonald's gift certificates, and because we had several men where I used to work would hang out on the interstate corner at the light, and I would give them, when they were there, I would give them a gift certificate to McDonald's for breakfast, food, lunch, or whatever, until my husband found out about it. And I've literally had them thrown back in my face because they wanted the cash. And then my husband explains to me that under franchise law, a contract with a franchise of McDonald's has to give the homeless a free meal. It is part of their franchise underwritten law.
I didn't know that.
So I got in trouble when I got home and told him that I had a little guy throw my $10 gift certificate back in my face. So how do we feel like we're doing right and not getting it thrown back at us because it's not what they consider right?
Yes, go ahead. I'm processing.
I handle the same thing because I feel like I am approached almost constantly by, I'll use the general term, beggars in all various types of contexts. And so what I've had to do is come to terms with it like this. God has been so generous with me. Everything I have is from him. And in turn, I want to be generous with the things he's given me and give to others. So I have certain methods by which I do that. But giving money to someone begging on a street corner is not one of those.
But doesn't it make you feel bad when you
Well, I feel bad about the fact that there are people in this situation who honestly are hurting. I try to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit if I'm prompted to actually take some action, do something to help somebody. But in general, I try to be generous with the things that God has given me, and I've derived methods for doing that, and giving money to strangers on a street corner is not one of those. I have to have become comfortable with that because I have to say no almost literally daily.
Correct.
Because it's so prevalent now.
Yes.
So that's what I've had to do. I hope I'm doing it right. I hope the Lord doesn't think that I am responding.
Well, I don't think, let me just say this. You have the right disposition, but that's you. But you cannot control anybody else. Because you are now experiencing this, and your heart is in the right place, the movement of the Holy Spirit. But some people are made that are open to that movement. And you know, that's more challenging.
It is.
And that's more Christ-like. Because you're being persecuted, even when you're trying to do charitable acts of work. Yes, ma'am.
And I think you give because your heart tells you to give. And then you gotta let it go. If they choose not to take it, you did it with the right spirit. And so give, let it go. And hope that they accept it. If they don't, like he said, that's not your fault. You did it with the right spirit.
But you see, everything that you give in love, the Lord will respond back, even if the other person doesn't accept it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it, but I was just going to say, like, your intention behind it. Like, if you want to give out of love, like, one of the things love is not expecting anything back. So once you give that, you responded to God's nudge on your heart. What they do with it after is on their conscience. But
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking that, like, if it comes to giving on the street corner, I think gift cards and like meals, like you did, Father, are probably the best way to go, because we also have to consider that giving them cash may be a greater temptation to them than giving them food, and so you may actually be placing on them or in front of them a stumbling block.
Correct.
So I think like probably a good go-to is exactly what you do, and exactly what she was doing, like a means of a meal, or giving them a ride to a shelter or something like that, or giving them water.
Yeah, and remember, social justice is not just taking care of the immediate. We should be fighting for something more permanent, okay? I mean, yes, we need to feed the poor, but I think the bigger issue is, why do we have so many poor? Why do we have so many homeless? So such a teaching is looking at the necessity right now, but at the same time, we have to look, why do we have so many homeless people? See? Sometimes we're a society who likes a Band-Aid, but never go deeper into the root of the problem. Yes, ma'am.
In our society and our government, we have such a massive fund to help all these people that, it's strange to me that these people are homeless whenever they could be on welfare and still, and get all these things that others get.
Yep.
And so I think they're just unwilling to seek those that don't have the mental capability to do that.
I will say that many of the things, just taking one issue, it will lead us, something is not working in the society. Something is lacking. The structure that we have, imperfect as it is not perfect yet. So, but I would say, I was one of those persons who were very critical of the people, because I always used to hear my dad say, well, I work. I wish all my other friends have documents like they do to work legally here in the United States, and they have not experienced robbery. That was my dad, so that got stuck in my head. But you know, once you start realizing many of them, that person that I was eating breakfast, you know how many times he told me the same story? Again and again and again. So you say, you're dealing with something or you're on illegal something. A lot of people who are up there, they don't have the mental capacity. Not because maybe of their own choosing, but some of them.
I'll use the microphone. I wanted to take it a step higher. I've worked out on the sidewalk at the abortion clinic when there was surgical abortion still in Little Rock for years, and tried to convince or persuade women not to have their abortion. I've been spit at, cussed at, threatened, things thrown at me, told to get a job, just because I was showing love and prayer to women in a crisis situation. And we didn't save them all, but if we saved one, it was worth it. And then we may not have saved people, but we changed their mind, their thought process. Because they'd come back years later and say, well, I had an abortion when I was here, but now I have this 3-year-old because I thought of things differently with my next pregnancy. So even though you're getting stuff thrown back at you, you never know how you presented that to the person that needed to be seen with love and compassion. So don't stop. Keep giving it. Yeah. Because that may be the only thing they've ever seen with that love and compassion.
Yeah, we have to be careful. And I remind myself this every day. And then, you know, I like little stories that make sense. But one of my favorite saints, and this is something that we always have to remember, St. John the 23rd. When you have a chance, Google him. One of the chubbiest popes, I think. That's why one of the reasons I like him, because he reminds me of me. He was chunky. He was chunky. You know, he said that the first change in his pontificate was to get a larger cassock because they didn't have one for him. Because he, you know, it was ripped when he came out of to greet the people outside when he was just elected. It was something ripped here because they have to cover him because it was chunky. So the next day the tailor came in but you know, he was I think in 78. This Pope was in the beginning with stomach cancer. So he was dealing with his own sufferings. And this is coming from his personal secretary of the Pope. You see the old Pope with his cane sitting in front of the Lord and says, there were some issues in Africa. There were some nuns that were killed. They were building the Berlin Wall in Germany. There was some decline in the priesthood. And he looked at Christ and said, you know, Lord, I did my best. It's your church. Good night. See you tomorrow for breakfast. I think that's the attitude with social when we do charity. You know, Lord, I did my best. Probably was the most horrible day, but it's your church. It's your people. You take care of it. I'm going to bed. See you tomorrow. Oh yeah, it's It's impossible, and that's the beauty of it. At the end of the day, we have God on our side. Let's not leave everything to him. I mean, okay, he can do everything. But it's the beauty of it. Giving freely, that's the life of heaven. Okay? Anything else? I'm done. I think I am. If I'm running, is it too early? I can talk more. All right? Yes, you do. All right. Any questions? All right. Just remember, if you are being baptized, if you're not baptized yet, see you at 5 p.m. in the church. We're gonna begin now the process they call it scrutinies. Hopefully, Deacon Matt Glover was able to explain it very well. Okay, and yes, and all of you are more welcome to come so you can experience the process of those who are going to be baptized. Okay, make sense?